Scanning. Control. Manipulate scientific data. Take over. Blast. Control. World government. Shut down infrastructure. Ship everything to China. Look at this person.
Everybody, hey, welcome to the long-awaited next episode of XFL Infowars. It's Dave and I sitting here. It's a nice day here in Japan. It's a nice day there up near the Canadian border. You're closer to Canada than most people are. And so what's up, man? So what's been going on? You've been busy with life. I've been busy with life. And you and I both kind of, after the last episode, let's let the season play out a little bit here. And then we can come back towards the end and just kind of talk about where we're at with everything. And here we are. The championship games have been, the championship game is going to be next week. And so here we are. We're going to recap the season and kind of talk about our thoughts on what's coming up with the championship game and kind of where we go from here. So thanks a lot. That's a lot here, man. I didn't mean to talk over you.
No, not at all. No, I think at the end of the day, it was a good season. The football was good. They developed some nice stars and some talent.
Yeah.
What I found interesting was, and some of this stuff just happened, and we even had a chance to talk about it. Some of the XFL players from the teams that are out of the playoffs now. Granted, only two are left, so everybody's done.
Right.
But players are getting signed to trials like. If you saw Ben DiNucci got the Broncos, gave him an invite. And I had to chuckle. People were asking, can he still play in both leagues? I'm like, folks, no offense to any player out there. Nobody wants to be in the XFL or USFL or anybody anywhere else if they can be in the NFL.
Right.
So I'm like, and it's multiple people are like, oh, I can't believe we lost this. I can't believe we lost this guy, or they're going to try out somewhere else. I'm like, this is what it's for. Like, this is exactly why this league existed.
It's called minor league football. I saw the same thing, and I'm like, oh. Well, God love them, though. God love the diehard XFL fans. I mean, that's something that over the course of this season, the beginning I had, I struggled with the hype, the belief, the cultish, like, oh, I'm XFL, ride or die, our history, or like, okay, now we're at the end of a season it's going to be completed soon. So I understand the passion. I get it. These people love the XFL. I mean, listen, I love the CFL. I know, so I get it, and I really do. So hopefully the players that sign with the NFL don't come back. Hopefully they stay in the NFL, because if that happens, then that gives legitimacy to everything the XFL is doing. And much like the minor league system, the baseball, when you had a star player make it big in the minors and leave, and then go to the show, that was something that the minor league team, and I'll use the Peoria Chiefs in this example, because this is the one when Mark Grace made it big with the Cubs. Well, I tell you what, those Peoria Chiefs, that was everything that they would talk about. Hey, much like the Arena Football League with Kurt Warner.
Yep. So, well, in that same sense, I'd be curious. A.J. McCarron had a good season. I thought he played well overall. It'll be curious if he if an opportunity exists in the NFL, will he take it? Or being able to play in front of his son every week wins out?
You know what? And I still have an issue with that. I think that was complete spin. I mean, I understand, what he said, I think was very heartfelt, but I guarantee you, had he got, I mean, listen, money talks in sports. So there's a whole lot that wasn't being, I just didn't buy that. Oh, I'm going to play for my son. Because you know what? And here's why. Because the XFL does not offer a pension, whereas the NFL offers a pension. And listen, I know for a fact, man, when I was a county probation officer and the feds came calling, you go with the feds because it's a better pension plan. So but it was a feel good story. But the way the XFL has spun everything, just still, it makes me want to, I hate saying this, makes me want to vomit.
I had to bring that up because it's like, it was such a, look, you said it best. It's a great story because he had an NFL career. Like, he played a while in the NFL, and
Yeah.
no, he had the opportunity to do this. But I mean, come on, AJ, if we're sitting in mid-February and the Atlanta Falcons said, look, we want to sign you for a year, and we're going to give you $900,000 to be the backup to whoever their starter is at that point, the 45, 50 grand from the XFL will be, I'll go to the Falcons.
He'd be like, where's the clipboard? He'd be
exactly.
happy, just where's the clipboard and where's my ball cap? That's,
I mean,
yeah.
I just questioned that there. I don't know. I looked at it as there wasn't the NFL option, but it was a great story that the XFL could latch on to early in the season.
Right. And it was one of those nobody could really deny either.
Exactly.
Nobody can say, I mean, it's a great story, but bottom line is NFL's got a way better pension, and a third string quarterback makes a hell of a lot more. A third string NFL quarterback makes a hell of a lot more than any star player ever will make in the XFL, just playing for the XFL.
A practice player on an NFL roster makes more than the XFL or USFL.
Yeah.
It's just nothing against these guys playing, because they're all playing for the opportunity for that next check. So I get it, I understand it, but it's just how it works.
Yeah. It's I don't. Again, it goes back to everything. It's kind of bothered me from day one about how this league has been marketed. It wasn't, and maybe they're going to change a little bit here and quit focusing on one personality, or actually two personalities, and focus in on the players and focus in on the community, really the communities. And that's something that's where I think is the XFL is kind of missed. They have not been embraced by, except with St. Louis. I mean, they still got a lot of work to do with the cities that they play in, for the cities to embrace them.
Mm-hmm. Oh, without a doubt. Look, they got through the first year.
Yeah.
They're going to have a good crowd next weekend in San Antonio.
Yeah.
And it'll be a lot of champagne and go, look, the XFL completed a season for the first time in 20 plus years.
Yeah.
So they'll move on, and it'll be interesting, because you see in the USFL with year 2 players who came back, and having the ability to then market the stars of the USFL.
Mm-hmm.
So it'll be interesting to see who comes back, and then it also, as you start aging, how long do you want to keep doing this for 50, 60, 50? The amount of money, it's good money for working a quarter of a year.
Right.
It always gets translated and compared to the NFL, but still, it's good money. But the question I'll put up here with every player on every USFL team, every player on the XFL teams looking at is, how long does someone like Luis Perez want to keep doing this?
Yeah.
Like, he's approaching 30. He's been a very good minor league quarterback,
Right.
but he didn't. I mean, I'm not sure. Yes, he got signed. I think the Rams signed him after the USFL season, but that didn't pan out. He came here, and he might sign somewhere else. But unfortunately, I think his time has passed. So it really comes down is how long he wants to keep doing this. Period.
Yeah. 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 I mean, you and I are both in our, we're both much older than
Yep.
all these guys that play now. So, I mean, yeah, I mean, it's, at some point, either, I mean, at age, 30, though, Tom Brady has skewed everything now with players' ages and everything now. But, the bottom line is, unless you were George Bland and Tom Brady are the outliers when it comes to playing and longevity. But yeah, 30 years old. Yeah. At some point, you got to walk away, and, unless the NFL is coming calling, and it kind of goes to what, unless the NFL is calling, at some point you're just going to have to say, okay, I tried, I did the best I could. It's time to go, as Chuck Noll would say, you know, go pursue your life's work.
Yeah, I mean, and it's different. If I'm 43 years old and someone's offering me $30 million a year, I'm going to keep myself in shape. Like, I mean, there's one player who can do it. Where I'm not talking about a lot of people doing this, but it's like making 60 grand living in Arlington, Texas, playing minor league football is different than the NFL lifestyle.
Right. And in this day and age, 60 grand ain't a whole lot of fucking money. Pardon my
French. No.
And so it goes to what, again, I agree 100%. At some point, it's like, he's going to have to it comes down to money. It's like, I can make more money teaching at a school,
Teach at a school, become a high school football coach.
Yeah.
No, but I say I'm not saying he's going to retire after this game, but I'm saying is like that's the I guess that's the question that I would throw out to the both leagues and the followers. Like, what are the expectations? These guys are playing in the USFL. Yes, they love football, no doubt about it. But nobody is going to. No one's going to Alabama. No one's going to whatever college of choice you have, Florida A&M or Tennessee or whatever college it is. No one's playing college football. Well, okay, maybe no one is an overgeneralization. The majority of college football players aren't going to play college football to, I'm going to be a Guardian and I want to live in Orlando.
Right. Yeah.
So it's one of those things where it's like they have a good product, both leagues.
Yeah.
It'll be curious to see of these young 20-somethings, say we're 6 years from now, are they developing players, like in the sense of minor league hockey? That's my best example, because baseball is a little skewed because you have to be you're associated with Major League Baseball. Teams aren't signing players, but minor league hockey does.
Right.
So is it going to be somewhere like, the Birmingham Stallions have 17, they're bringing back 17 of their core players for this next season, or whatever team you follow, how's that really go? Because a lot of following sports is making that connection.
Mm-hmm.
And you can be a diehard DC Defender fan, or you can be a Memphis Showboat fan. But if every year you're bringing in 50 new people, it's going to be hard to get the continuity of the fan support. Like, really, I look at like Major League Baseball when Major League the movie when all the scouts and everyone's in that room and they're looking at the players got invited to spring training. Who are these guys? So it's just one of those things, right? That's where at this point, looking at the end of this year, looking at the next year, like where does this all go? It's going to be here again, but where does it all go? And it also is going to be interesting. And I'm sorry, now I'm hogging the conversation.
No, go ahead.
It's going to be interesting to see when players have the opportunity, where do they end up going? Because obviously, a bunch of the USFL quarterbacks jumped to the XFL. And I'm assuming that the XFL said, hey, we're going to pay you more money. So they got a bunch of the USFL quarterbacks to go.
Right.
And USFL goes, look, there are 300 college football teams across the United States. Go ahead. We'll get the next crop because there's a ton of them out there. But it'll be curious to see year round, moving down, who stays within their financial parameters to look at the talent that's out there.
Yeah.
The named minor league talent.
Yeah. And then also too, we got all that out there. Then you throw in the Canadian CFL. And, but and fortunately, I mean, we live in a day and age. I mean, I think the population of North America can support 4 pro leagues at this point.
Yeah.
Then, it'll be interesting to see how the CFL plays this year, because this is the first year the CFL is playing with two spring leagues already completed. 2 spring leagues in the States. I mean, everybody's gone. This can be literally the first season I can ever recall where literally we've had pro football from Super Bowl to Super Bowl.
Yes.
And obviously, when it comes to the CFL, I mean, that's, that season's coming up here pretty quick too.
But I honestly think, my personal opinion is that these 2 spring leagues is going to help the CFL grow.
Yeah. I mean, I don't see, honestly, talent. Yeah. I mean, all these leagues kind of complement each other in many ways. But yeah, I hope so. I mean, when it comes to the CFL, and not to get off topic, but it sounds like the CFL, with expansion, with new owners, with pockets, things are looking up. The question is,
yep.
Go
sorry.
ahead.
No, go. I didn't mean to jump in. I
things are just looking up. I mean, and if they can get that 10th franchise, whether it be in Quebec, and I think Quebec's a better fit than the Maritimes. But then kind of, where they want Quebec City. Well, Quebec City is kind of a maritime area because it's not that far from the ocean. I mean, you could make a case for it's part of the Maritimes. But anyway, I digress. I think more good news is coming for the CFL than bad news. I think it's in a better position. But again, but like you said, I think the two other leagues, the XFL and the USFL, I think they're going to help the CFL in the long term.
And I think it helped them with, that's why CBS got in the game.
Yeah.
Right now, if you look at what's going on right now, televised spring/summer football, CBS is the odd man out.
Yeah.
ABC, Fox, NBC, they've divvied up the XFL and USFL.
Yeah.
So now CBS, it's been reported that they paid $1 million. That's what they reported. Like that's what the reports have said, that that CBS is paying the CFL, too many C's there, to have broadcast. They have that whatever broadcast rights. It's still, I think, getting fleshed out how many games, but the package that they are paying for is $1 million. So it's been reported that ESPN's deal is worth between $100,000 and $200,000 a year. So immediately, that's a tremendous windfall for the CFL. And now if they end up going back to ESPN to supplement or however they do the rest of the year, however they figure that out, that's just that to me that's a huge win. And it sounds like that CBS deal is also, they are going to be not necessarily doing a studio show, but there's actually promotional background and a promotional push for what to promote the games that they're showing as well.
Okay.
Which ESPN Plus is. Well, I think Toronto. I think the Argos playing tonight. Let me check ESPN Plus to see where they are, and then you have to go into ESPN Plus, scroll across, and find CFL.
Yeah. It's like it's not easy to get to. It's like there's like 5 steps involved.
Yeah. So
or like me, 6 if you include the VPN and all that crap. Like yeah.
So as much as it's a big change for people, and it's going to be an additional cost to go to Paramount Plus, but I think at the end of the day, I think people are going to be pleasantly surprised when you go to Paramount Plus, how easier it will be to find the CFL.
Which reminds me, I need to actually figure out. I got to go on, here. I got to figure out Paramount Plus with my VPN. I've had good luck again. ExpressVPN. If only I could get them as sponsors of the show, I'd gladly, because without them, I couldn't have watched any football.
Yeah.
But I need to go on Paramount Plus, and I need to figure out. I need to before the season even starts, because then the flip side is, if I can't get that to work here in Japan with Paramount Plus and the VPN, then I got to look at that international package that the CFL kicks out there. And I did that. I did the Grey Cup game with them, and I was not overly impressed with the product that I saw on TV, because it skipped and everything. And obviously, you and I, we've never had a connection issue here. Me being with, but it was really bad. Yeah. So I don't know if it was. So hopefully, we'll see, right? Because I got Paramount Plus for free with my T-Mobile service. So I'm trying not to spend any more money than I have to. But yeah, I agree with you when it comes. Yeah, CBS is the odd man out. It will be nice. So hopefully we'll start seeing, and I know we're going to be talking XFL here, but just kind of digress. But it will be, hopefully we'll see CFL promos on CBS Sports during NFL games.
Why? I mean, I guess I look at it like, granted, I understand that Fox owns USFL, but they're dropping them during NASCAR. They're dropping them through all their events. If it's one of the ones you own, why wouldn't you do this?
Right.
Because it's just promoting more football to people watching football, and it costs you nothing. Right. So, I don't know.
And, hopefully, I don't know, and I'm doubting we're going to see this, but I don't see, the Grey Cup game will be on CBS Sports Net, but it sure would be nice to see the Grey Cup game on CBS itself. That's not going to happen.
No.
But, who knows? Unless NFL players go on strike again, but that ain't going to happen. But at least there's going to be some consistency. They'll be easier to find.
Well, you know what? Looking ahead, it's always the Sunday before Thanksgiving, because it always falls around the reason I remember the Grey Cup is it's literally every year within a couple of days of my birthday. And like every couple of years it falls on my birthday. So it's that Sunday before Thanksgiving, and it's like at 6:00. I guess, but the question I have is, obviously if it's the season, there's a game on, but it would be wonderful if there's a way that, and granted, I'm not asking this, having the CFL change it to be broadcasted live in America is an unreasonable ask. It's their game.
Right.
But if there was a way to manipulate the time and have it live on CBS on that Sunday, that I think the ratings will. I think the ratings.
I think they'd have
extremely well.
Yeah, they do very well. But what throws a wrench into everything is NBC Sunday night football, and with if you can kick it, if you can take that game away that one weekend, it'd be nice.
But I look at the opposite.
Yeah.
I would look to do it at 1 o'clock in the afternoon.
Yeah.
But they said, like I said, it's an unreasonable ask to say, hey, this is your country's game. You've played it for over 100 years. You mind playing it at a more convenient time for us?
Well, yeah. Well, and then also too, you look at, the CFL's got their own issues with TSN. So it's going to be interesting how it plays out. And like talking about the new owners that have come in. I think the CFL might do well the next time around with broadcast rights are up, especially with the influx of the new owners. But I mean, it's wishful thinking on my part.
I mean, the new Montreal owner has a competing network to TSN, so it's like, they're in play.
Yeah.
I mean, and $50 million is no small amount of money. Like that. I mean, that's what TSN pays for, to have exclusive rights across Canada. So you're telling me the billionaire owner of the Alouettes doesn't want to have? He wouldn't go, you know what? Let's do 75 million just to have it, and then he'll figure it out. Like I can't see this not doubling the next time they're up. I just don't see it.
I agree with you. Well, getting back and talking about TV. No, talking about TV. So let's look at the XFL, the ratings since last time we talked. I don't know. My sense on the ratings have been they've gotten a little better because more games got pushed to broadcast TV. More people are cutting the cord. A lot of people are watching it over the air. So the ratings have gotten a little better, but then the USFL comes in and to me just kick those ratings back down to earth again. And here we are going into the championship game, not this weekend, but following weekend. And that game is going to be on ABC. When it comes to the ratings and everything and you and I have and I say harping because sometimes, I mean, really that's been the main, because the games have been so great.
Yep.
But it's what you and I have we both like the business of football. So we know, hey, you can have great games all you want, but if nobody's freaking watching, nobody's I mean, there was even in those stadiums that swear to God only looked like 100 people were there. There have been some great games, but you look at the ratings and, despite what Mike Mitchell and XFL News Hub have spun and other people have spun, the ratings as a percentage have sucked. You can find all kinds of positives in there, and I know there have been a few positives, but nobody's really been watching comparatively. No. And then now with the USFL coming in, more people seem to be gravitating towards the USFL.
I think so. I think it's also, the USFL has been offering better times, more prime time.
Right.
But I mean, look at next weekend. The 13th is the championship game. It's 8 o'clock on ABC. I mean, the USFL is still a competitor, but they're a smart competitor. Their games are at 12:30 and 4 o'clock next Saturday.
Yeah, the lead. So
they're not gonna try and play it at 7:30 on whatever, because it doesn't make any sense to. So, but what I like about, like I said, there's pluses and minuses for both of these. But what I'm liking from the USFL more than the XFL in TV is the USFL seems to be doing more Saturday and Sunday traditional football times.
Right.
Not so much. It doesn't matter. Yes. There's no NFL games at 12:30 on a Saturday afternoon, but sure is a lot of college football games at 12:30. So that next weekend, or even you look at this weekend coming up, you have USFL plays at 1 o'clock and 7:30 games on NBC primetime. And then, who doesn't watch Saturday night college football nowadays? And then Sunday they play at 3 o'clock and 6:30. So it's all well within the time frame of when the NFL plays or when you are used to watching football.
Right.
And the XFL got stymied because they stressed wanting to be on the broadcast their games too. But when you don't own it, you play at 9:30 at night on a Sunday, or you play at whatever time you can squeeze in, where you have Fox going, okay, when we have these times available next year already, so they're plugging in when they're going to play and have their time. So, like I said, there's a list of both that they can work on, and TV times is really something I think the XFL really needs to figure out, getting a better time when their games are.
Right. Well, and that's, from day one, from the first, like they completely dropped the ball on the TV stuff.
Yeah.
Times and everything. They had so much lead up time to lock all this in. And now, the second half of the season the league seems to be a little bit more well run than the first half of the season. But it goes back to what I said from day one. You had 2 years to figure this stuff out. To get your ducks in a row. Hopefully next season they do have their ducks in a row. Whether, as a team, are the Vipers going to stay in Vegas or are they going to move to San Diego? What's going to happen with Orlando? Fan engagement is the big thing. And, some like DC, they've drawn great crowds, but they play in a soccer stadium of 18,000. Granted, when DC's playing at home, it looks good on TV. Those soccer specific stadiums look great when they're filled up, and you don't even realize, oh, it's a small stadium. So they're doing well there. So they need to I would say they need to use that model that DC has got down, putting in smaller stadiums and cram as many people as you can in there. And then get the hell out of Vegas. Cause that to me, that's kind of a disaster. As to Orlando, I don't know what they do with Orlando, because unless there are other stadiums in Florida that they could play at, soccer specific stadiums, but I don't know what they do. Again, because it boils down to, if you're a casual viewer tuning in, and are you going to watch a game? It's kind of like the old United Football League. When they were around, I'm like, oh, it's football, and oh, it's a minor. It just didn't. I wasn't drawn to it because the fact there was nobody in the stands. I'm like, okay, well, if nobody's going to these games, why should I invest my time and effort into it?
You weren't turning in to see if Jim Fossil could beat Denny Green?
Yeah, no. And the only time, and really you think about it, the only place where the UFL worked was Omaha.
Yep.
And if you're going to play in a baseball stadium, well, frick, go out to Omaha, because apparently they got people to show up for United, and there's not much going on in Omaha. Nope. And there is a baseball stadium. And I say this because I've been to Omaha. It's not that big. The baseball stadium, for the College World Series, is right downtown.
Is it Rosenblatt? Is that?
I don't know off the top of my head. But the minor league team doesn't even play downtown anymore.
No, they play out in the stadium.
They built a new sub over by Offutt Air Force Base. It's not that far away from Offutt. Again, I've only been in Omaha once, and it was during my time spent at a weekend at Strategic Command, a good time spent at Strategic Command. But yeah, I think Omaha would, if they're not going to move to San Diego, move to Omaha, because I think people in Omaha would support the XFL, because clearly nobody in Vegas is.
It comes down to where they can get an affordable stadium lease.
Yeah.
Like you said, you hit it nail on the head. My two question marks were Las Vegas and Orlando. And obviously they're playing in that stadium because it's the cheapest stadium in the Orlando area.
Yeah.
There's a brand new MLS stadium, but I don't see the MLS team letting them in.
Right.
I just don't, because they have the NWSL, they have the MLS team, they have a USL team. They have 3 soccer clubs
playing on
professionally rolling through there.
Oh yeah, yeah. You don't want, because the football team would just a gridiron team would just destroy it.
Yeah. So that's the question is, of the 8 teams, they got to find homes for, I think realistically, at least 2. They're Arlington's their hub. Unless they get a cheaper deal to go somewhere else, they're going to stay in Arlington. I thought that stadium was not good for football. The old Rangers.
The whole story behind that stadium. The Rangers built a new. It wasn't. It made no sense. This is going way back when the Rangers built a new stadium. Okay, you're playing outdoors, and Texas is getting hotter to see a game. Okay, why didn't you build? It just, so you build a brand new outdoor stadium that you barely used, so you got to keep it. And I don't know. I love the beauty of watching on TV, seeing football played in baseball parks. It's just something about the aesthetics of it. Mm-hmm. But the practicality of it is nobody's going to these games in Arlington.
No, and they have at least changed the camera angles, because the cameras were showing the tarps,
right,
where the people weren't there. So, and then
or even go to Jerry World, even go to where the Cowboys practice. Well, yeah, I know money's involved there, and but
Jerry's not going to let you touch that.
But you would think Jerry Jones, if ever anybody saw an opportunity to enhance his brand and the NFL's brand, he would actually bring an XFL team in there just to shake things up in the NFL. But
I personally, I think he'd do a USFL team before XFL.
Oh yeah,
he signed the star, the MVP of the USFL, signed a 3-year contract with the Cowboys, and then went to the Pro Bowl.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, I didn't even think about that.
Turpin. So
yeah, I didn't even think about that.
I think he would do it, but personally, I think he would do it the USFL first, because Fox is an NFL partner.
Right.
So I just don't see. I wouldn't see him, for him, such a cheerleader and power broker in the NFL, going with the league that, they have a agreement.
Right.
Whatever
There's a little bit of a working relationship there.
Yeah. But you have another one who is one of your main rights holders, and they're funding this.
Right.
If Jerry's going to pick one, I think he'd pick that one. But
yeah,
my other wild card team, I think they need to at least think about, is Seattle.
Seattle was underwhelming.
That was. I thought they would draw a lot better. Now, granted, they had some really dog times, but that's neither here nor there. They're just a 60,000+ seat stadium, and you're announcing 10 or 11. It was nowhere near 10 or 11, but I understand why they wanted to keep that average at 11, between 11 and 12, 11 to 13,000. So I understand why they kept announcing certain numbers. But you take those, that's half the league.
Yeah, damn near. Yeah.
Yes, Houston had some okay crowds, but they're playing in a college football stadium.
Yeah. And those crowds in Houston, I was a big run. I rooted for the Roughnecks this season, but watching those games, it's like, I was disappointed even seeing that. It's like, it's just, so maybe next year, maybe the crowds will be better. But I think the marketing division of this league, they really need to get their act together, because, and if you've got to paper the stadium if you're going to sell tickets for $1, sell them for $1, get people in there, because, at least that way you can say you sold the tickets, even though they're dirt cheap, but you're not technically, you're not papering the place, but because really, to me, as a fan, if I'm going to, because again, when games are on TV, that's a big ask for me to turn on, devote to give you 3 hours of my time, why should I give myself 3 hours of my time for a team that nobody else apparently is giving their time towards? I mean, even my college football team, my alma mater. I watch the games, but I see nobody's in the stands. And it's like, it's hard for me as an alumnus to give my time to a team that other alumni aren't giving their time to. It just asses in the seats just makes the game. It gives you a reason to watch, because obviously these people are there for a reason. And DC is a classic example. They put asses in the seats in a small stadium, and it sure made it seem like it was a much bigger stadium. And obviously St. Louis is the outlier there. But even with St. Louis, they didn't fill. I mean, I wonder next year if they're going to start, it'd be nice to see the entire dome get filled up versus just the lower bowl. But I think that's a long-term project. But if anybody can do it, it'd be St. Louis.
I don't know. I think if they didn't do it this year, I think it'll be really hard to do it moving forward.
Right.
You only have that chance once to say we're back. And at the end of the day, they ended up underachieving.
Yeah.
So look, I am not poo-pooing 35,000 people coming out to see minor league football. It's great.
Yeah.
But at some point, having this, you lose. I mean, you only can cheer Kroenke sucks so many times when you have a football team.
Right. Yeah. I mean, it gets old. And to use an old CFL example, hey, that first season when Baltimore didn't even have a team name, okay, that worked great. But then the next season, season 2, hey, we're the Stallions now, and we're focused on now, not how the NFL screwed us. There were lesser crowds, but it was a better product on the field, and obviously,
I think it was amazing.
They won the Grey Cup, and then we know what happened. Literally, the day after, a couple days after, or the week they won the Grey Cup, the NFL came back. But it worked in Baltimore because, okay, the first season it was very us against the NFL. Second season it was, okay, we got a great team here.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it was lightning in a bottle, and I don't see St. Louis right now having the same magic that the Baltimore had. But again, if any city could support, you and I have both read on social media, oh, great attendance in St. Louis. Yeah, but St. Louis can't carry a league. The Cleveland Browns couldn't carry the AAFC. That's why it folded, because one team was carrying that entire league.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's but again, this is completely different. We're in 21st century, and both these leagues are backed by a shit ton of money. So, hopefully, whatever Dany Garcia does, or what makes her so great as a league owner, hopefully she's got some brains there and figures, it's great she's a league owner and everything. And I'm not being anti anything, but I have yet to see, I don't know. It just seems to me, just the people that are making the decisions, including her, haven't, they were given a blueprint by Vince McMahon, and they only followed part of the blueprint. Hopefully they've learned some hard lessons. But I'm just tired of the self-promotion of both her and The Rock. It just, to me, I think that worked against the league from day one.
Yeah, I certainly agree, but I just don't see, they had nothing else to do. Like, you can only promote the new black and white logo so much.
Right.
I thought that was a big misstep too, but none of this is my money, so they can do whatever they want.
Yeah.
But I think they tried. I think that was what the AJ McCarron thing was. They tried to find a player in every city to be the focal
the face
point
of the franchise.
But at the minor league level, if you had a face, that face would have already been just a number in the NFL.
Right.
Like how many, I mean, in the last 2 weeks, and like I said, I don't mean me bringing up this player's name is not, I'm not looking at it negatively. I'm just looking at how many times in the last 2 weeks now have we read an article about Luis Perez? Because he's the most known name in United States level minor league football.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what they're doing because I mean everybody, I mean, if you follow spring football, you know the name, you know his name, you know the name Luis Perez.
Yeah.
The spring league, like he's played in every one of these leagues. And it was good. It's good to do that because they're trying to strike a chord with this with a name that people know. But I think it just, I don't know if it's a strong enough name and to carry it.
Right.
I think they need to develop something. I don't know exactly what that is. I mean, they brought in good football people.
Right.
I don't question that. I mean, the two top tier football people were at one point the president and general manager of the Buffalo Bills. So I know them for many, many years because that's who they worked for. So they have a tremendous amount of credibility in that aspect. But like you said, with the marketing side of things, I don't know the marketing people they have, or any marketing firm, I should say. You're asking them to try and to create a campaign about a bunch of not no names, but people. You're trying to create a marketing plan about a league and teams and players that aren't well known or known. So who are you going to rely back on? The wrestling guy and movie star who's dumping all this money in.
Yeah.
His ex-wife, who is also very well known, to draw eyeballs on it, to watch it, and then hopefully get you to follow. Oh, you have Wade Phillips. Yeah. He's the coach of Houston. Or I can see why they dumped a ton of money in the head coaches, because I couldn't tell you 4 San Antonio Brahmas players, but I think I know Hines Ward.
Yeah.
So I guess it's just one of those things where who comes back, who is gonna, what stars. It's just tough because you want to develop stars and you want to develop players, but that type of player or position is going to be gobbled up by one of the other by an NFL team. Like it's just, I don't know. Do you roll the dice with the backup running back and the number 3 wide receiver on the depth chart as your go-tos for next year's? Like, I don't know. I guess I look at it as like, if you're the DC Defenders and you're going out there, I mean, obviously selling season tickets for a 9-1 team is a lot easier than selling tickets for a 4-6 team. But if I'm trying to sell tickets or sell sponsorship for the Arlington team, I'm not sure what I have.
Right.
I'm just not sure. So, and it's good luck. I hope they load up some staff and get people out there pounding the pavement with the message. But I don't know. That's a cost that a lot of professional sports teams don't want to take on.
Yeah.
So and then I look at the USFL model, which is on that level almost completely different, where they're trying to create a business where when you buy in to that business, you are walking into a break-even profitable business before you move it to that city.
Right.
So yes, some of the crowds, like this past weekend, the first game, which didn't have the Michigan Panthers, it didn't look great on television. The next game, the doubleheader with the Michigan Panthers played, and it looked great.
Yeah.
Michigan, the Panthers will be playing in the 4 hub cities will have their own team next year for sure. The teams that are playing at these hubs are all doing well. It's now they need to identify, well, it's kind of ironic. XFL needs to find 4 stronger markets. USFL needs to find 4 stronger markets so they can move that next thing. But
yeah,
I mean, if you're looking to someone to buy into a USFL team and you send over a pro forma saying, look, what you're buying into and what you're guaranteeing us is already a break-even business because of the television package that's already in place that you're going to be a part of.
Mm-hmm.
As they, you know what? I lost a sheet of paper. I was writing down there were at least twice as many advertisements for brands on the USFL game than the XFL game.
Right.
So it's a little different. I know the XFL people love hammering on attendance for USFL. But I just think in 2023, with looking at the business model, it's going to be easier getting people to buy in to a near profitable business than finding investors to join the XFL when you're looking at a balance sheet that you lost significant amount of money.
Right. Yeah. And to me, looking at the 2 leagues, I mean, looking at them objectively, the USFL, I don't know, it just seems to me it's more well planned, it's more thought out. It's a better product aesthetically overall, whereas the XFL has had, and it's not just me knowing. I mean, I've been on Reddit, been on Twitter.
Yeah.
I mean, you and I have both seen the talk. I'm not seeing that same talk on USFL social media about, oh, this looks like shit. I mean, obviously they're haters and no matter what. Yeah. But you go to XFL Reddit, it's you go into that stovepipe right there, or that echo chamber. And hey, if I'm seeing it and other people are seeing it, okay, well, maybe I'm not crazy. And I forget who it was. I don't know, but I'm like, man, I thought I was, only one seeing that. I thought maybe I was the crazy one and maybe I'm missing it. But yeah, I mean, yeah. So hopefully, again, we're at the end of the season and they've, hopefully, and what, and that the question is going into this championship game is not so much the ratings, because I think it's going to be good ratings. I mean, it's not going to be obviously Super Bowl ratings, but yeah, who knows? I mean, what do we got going on? Maybe, I mean, first of all, it's Mother's Day weekend. Yeah. We got NBA and NHL stuff going on. So they're really not competing against they're not competing against a whole lot at that time slot. So hopefully the ratings, but to me, it's a question of the attendance. Are they going to be able to, the Alamo Dome? I mean, I think they would have been better playing in St. Louis. But with that said, the Alamo Dome is probably the second best place to play. Because if at least they would have played in St. Louis, they would have got all those Battlehawk fans to fill the place, to support the league as it stands. But you're not going to have that in San Antonio. So the question is, what are we looking at attendance wise for a championship game? So maybe it'll be like what the USFL was in Canton last year. But yeah, who knows? I mean,
hook or by crook, they're going to have a good crowd.
Yeah. I mean, they're going to get people. They're going to get people there. But my question is it going to look half baked or is it going to look fully baked, at least in the bottom bowl?
I just don't know. Because the way I look at this is these championship games are more of an event than anything. I mean, I think they're going to announce at least 30,000 people there. That's my my prediction is they're going to at least announce minimum of 30,000 people, anywhere from goal line to goal line. They're going to have sponsors. They're going to have people connected with the clubs. They're going to have people connected with Redbird, and the seats will be filled.
Okay. Yeah.
And they'll fill in with all the fans who want to come to the game. But I look at like the Super Bowl. It's a combination, and it's probably 70% of people who don't normally go to football games.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it's gonna be like I said, my two things. I'll go. I think they're gonna have 30,000 people, and I'm gonna go out on a limb and say they get 2 million viewers.
Okay. All right. I can see that. I would go with that with you. I'll go side by side with you on that one, because I think the ratings actually will be, I think it'll be close to 2 million, because there's not a whole lot going on.
Yeah.
And hopefully they will heavily promote it on ABC to draw people in.
They haven't yet.
I know I'll be watching it. Do we know if it's going to be available on ESPN Plus? I would assume it's going to be.
Yeah, I'm assuming that too. It's funny. I'm actually rolling through right now, and I'm jumping through Ticketmaster to see where they are with tickets, because it was funny. Like 4 hours after the game went on sale, like 3/4 of the stadium wasn't available. I'm like, come on, folks, you're telling me that all these seats are already sold. So all they have is the lower bowl. So if you look at it, I mean, if you pull it up, and I'll show you the picture here. This is what I know. This sounds, working in ticketing for so long, you learn the trends on how things look. But one of the ways how things work is, when you want to make the crowd bigger than it appears, is when you pull tickets, you pull every other row, or you pull gaps, and you don't pull the big block of 50 people together. You take those 50 people through 80. So this is behind the visitors' sideline at the Alamo Dome. And you see it, it's got tickets gone, then a whole row, tickets gone, a whole row. Oops, sorry.
That's okay. Are the white ones all tickets gone, or tickets available?
Yeah, the white ones are tickets not available.
Okay.
And the blue ones are available. And then the red ones are resales. So if you're looking at it, I find it very interesting that you have all these weird full rows.
Yeah, it's almost it's too convenient is really what it. Yeah.
So even this is the end zone.
That's okay. I can't see.
I need to. My wife's been bugging me about getting a new computer, so that's what. But anybody can go on Ticketmaster, and you can see they're only selling the lower bowl, and they're only, like, you can see that how that's set up. So, but they're doing their due diligence. They want a good crowd. That's how you do it.
Yeah. I mean, the last time we had a spring football championship, okay, except for, forget the XFL because that was a fucking disaster. The first XFL $1 million game.
Yeah.
But the last time we had a real spring football championship was back in the 80s. And if you remember, all three games, obviously the first game drew the best. Of course, there was a riot afterwards, which is a great story by Jeff Pearl.
Yep.
But to me, that's kind of the yardstick as to how this game, does it measure up to the excitement of the USFL championship. It's going to be on ABC. I need to go back and watch those games too, because those were fun to watch.
Even last summer, that the USFL championship game at Tom Benson Stadium at the
Hall of Fame. That's right. I forgot about that.
They in essence sold it out.
Yeah.
I mean, granted, it's a 20,000 seat stadium, but you know what? Like that, for having a hub in Birmingham, moving your playoffs to the Football Hall of Fame, and just about, I mean, it could have been sold out. You know how people just don't show up.
Right.
To have 20,000 people fill a stadium in a city that doesn't have a team, hasn't held a game, and just holding the like the playoffs and the championship game is impressive.
Yeah. Well, and that was a smart call on them to actually have it at the Pro Football Hall of Fame. And that gave the USFL some legitimacy too.
Oh yeah.
To be able to play it there. I mean, I don't know. I mean, you and I don't know if you've been to the Hall of Fame, but I've been there.
I have.
You know, I mean, it's definitely worth the time, and for me, it was definitely well worth the 9-hour trip that I took to get there with my nephew. But yeah, I gave it. But yeah, I've completely now. I forget what was going on last year with the championship game that I did not watch. I think it had a lot to do with me moving, and other things kind of got in the way. So I can't even remember. I obviously like Randy Snow and Adam and Zach Heilman, podcast friends of ours, they went. Great time. I mean, it was. Oh, and Stefan too with with the USFL, with him. Well, both him and Zach were there. So, but to me, again, that's really what. Hopefully, they're going to get about the same amount of crowd. Definitely the same enthusiasm. So, I think if they recapture what was done last year, then I think things are going to look up for next year. But just hopefully next season, we're more focused in on the game, what's going on in the field versus the ratings. And I did notice too, now when I took a little social media break too, I came back every now and then I would dip my toe in and see what's going on. What's going on? Is it the USFL people and the XFL fans are fighting now as to which league's better? I'm a critic. I mean, but spring football is spring football. I mean, I don't have a choice of either one. I mean, obviously, I'm old school enough with the USFL, but I don't get why people are fighting with each other. It makes no sense.
I don't understand it, but it's one thing if it's like American League versus National League and Major League Baseball.
Oh
yeah. Before it was we had the DH. Oh, we don't want the DH. You had something there. Yeah. You have a league that has 1 year under its belt and a league that hasn't had a successful year in 20 years. And the people who are arguing weren't alive when that first year happened or knew enough about it that even existed.
Right.
So I don't know.
Yeah. And it goes back. I mean, you would never hear USFL fans in the 80s arguing with NFL fans in the 80s as to which league's better. We knew which league was better. Yeah. I mean, there was not. Yeah. No.
It was an alternative.
I dipped my toe in there and I saw people calling for peace and, hey, like, what the hell's going on? But you know what? I tell you what, though, social media is it's entertaining at times because for the last month, I've been off pursuing my other interest and kind of dipping my toe back in the UFO field because I just love the paranormal stuff. I love listening. It's entertaining. And then I'm going on that social media and you get the same thing. You get people fighting with each other. It's like, guys, you guys are fighting over, again, we're fighting over, you guys are fighting over UFO. That makes no sense whatsoever. So I when it comes to the XFL versus the USFL, who knows? Maybe there will be a merger in 3 years. A lot of things are going to play out. I mean, when it comes to TV contracts, when it comes to, who knows what the impact the CFL contract with the CBS Sports is going to have. And then you got the NFL. So I don't know. There's a ways to go. So it'll be interesting. And, with the championship coming up, maybe that'll change the narrative a bit. And, if the USFL has an equally successful season, but I think in the long term, somewhere down the road, say by season 4, I could very well see a merger because that might make the most financial sense. But both these leagues need to prove themselves first, and neither one has proved themselves that they have any staying power. I mean, it's going to take, the USFL in the 1980s, it couldn't even prove itself it had staying power. So
Well,
we're a ways to go before, before we can comfortably say spring football is here to stay.
I mean, the original USFL, the owners couldn't control themselves.
Yeah, it was like a
That
bunch of crap.
that, that I mean, that's been analyzed so many different ways, but that's the bottom line.
Yeah, if you would have
They
just stuck with the
they
Dixon plan, it would have been fine.
Yeah, I mean, it just you had Gary Davis. Like there is a financial conservative plan that's there, but all those guys wanted who was going to get Steve Young, who was going to get Jim Kelly, and then I mean it just became a battle of who could sign the biggest player, and then at the end of the year going, I lost $10 million. What's going on? Like,
Yeah. Well, and then without even mentioning his name, but one person in particular, and you can't blame him for the ultimate well, you can't blame him for the fiasco that was created because he wasn't there in the beginning. Of course, he was the one at the wheel of the bus when it finally did crash. But he only bought the team because he couldn't get into the NFL, and he figured this was his backdoor way of getting into the NFL.
yeah, he wanted to force a merger,
Right. Yeah.
and that's why right before the lawsuit happened, the Houston Gamblers merged with the New Jersey Generals because his thought was, I got Herschel, I got Jim, the NFL has to take me now.
Yeah.
And the NFL goes, no, what all these players already have their rights by an NFL team. You have to prove it. You can't. Good luck.
Yeah. I got the football I've got football for $1 electronically, but I've got the $1 league here. One of the few books I brought to Japan with me. I need to sit through it, maybe towards football season. Maybe that'll be part of my football season reading, but I'll go back and read that because it's just the whole thing about the USFL. So it's like when people start talking about these spring leagues now, and you and I are, we're like, I sat down, I talked with Kyle Smith a while ago, with the Gridiron America stuff, which I need to get back to. It just been taking time away now with the weather being nice and everything here in Japan, and had other things going on. My Gridiron America podcast is still out there, but I haven't done anything. But him and I would, just things were so different. But there's so many lessons that hopefully these owners will, especially The Rock and Danny Garcia, because I'm not overly impressed. Even the whole thing with merchandising, people with their jerseys, ordering jerseys, nothing, they were not, I mean, the last iteration, we've talked about this before. Hey, they were ready day one for to sell people merchandise. They weren't even, they couldn't even get the merchandising right this time. So, and, I mean, you and I both have closets full of jerseys, ultimately we're rooting for laundry. And if you don't have the laundry, then, I mean, that's, I don't know. Speaking of laundry too, oh no, go ahead, man.
Well, I've been having a lot of discussions with lots going on in arena football in a different sense. But I made the analogy there. I go, fans follow wins and losses on the field.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, profits and losses behind the scenes is what carries this. And if there's enough losses, it becomes a footnote on a Wikipedia page really quick.
Yeah. And, you got to make money somehow. And the easiest way to make money is to sell people shit. And if you don't have the stuff people want to buy, then you're going to lose money. I mean,
yeah,
the NFL has figured out merchandising. The MLB has figured out merchandising. I know that here because everybody here in Japan apparently is a Yankees fan or a White Sox fan, which makes me hesitant to wear my White Sox hat because it's like I'm the only guy that really knows. I've yet to see a Cubs hat. It's funny though, just talking about merchandising. I have yet to see a Cubs hat. I have yet to see any Bears stuff. I haven't seen any Miami Dolphins stuff. But there are certain teams that you see here in Japan. People wearing the Yankees, the Dodgers. Now, again, we're talking baseball here.
Yeah,
On the football side of the house, I've seen more Packers stuff here, and I don't know why. Yeah, I don't know. It's really weird. And then you go in like the secondhand shops here because secondhand clothes. So when I pass away, my wife I know is going to give all my Cardinal stuff, and that's like a gold mine here that she'll have, be able to cash in on my collection of hats because I have the old school Cardinals hat with the logo,
nice.
with the old school look, not the current one.
Yep.
And before we sign off here, and we're about to wrap it up here, with football the last month. So I followed everything. But the one thing that I did actually tune in live for was the unveiling of the Arizona Cardinals new uniforms. Talk about an utter fucking disappointment. I'm like, they bring out the white ones. I'm like, okay, all right, that's good. That's a good, clean look. Didn't like their road look. Okay, helmets pretty much staying the same. They're keeping I'm not big on the current logo, but they're not going to get rid of I couldn't see them getting rid of the old logo or getting rid of the current logo. I'm like, okay, all right. They bring out the all blacks. The all blacks are sharp. I like the all black look.
Those are really nice.
Then they bring out the home uniforms. And like, what the F? You've got, at least go do first of all, having Arizona across the front of the jersey. Just to me, I think of Cleveland when the Browns had those jerseys and just how crappy they look. Even like with the Jets now, they have New York across. Like, okay. It looked. Again, they look like Oklahoma uniforms, which I guess was perfect because Kyler Murray was modeling them. And like, okay, are we a college team? I don't.
See, those type decisions are coming from the owner.
Well, he's got enough issues to worry about, apparently.
Well, but that's how that stuff works. Like when you see something that's just like, what were you thinking? That means that someone who was the decision maker is set on what they wanted and didn't go to other people or didn't care what other people said and goes, I'm footing the bill. This is what we're going with. There's no way when you see a jersey and people are like, what were you thinking? They've already had so many discussions on this jersey. And at some point, I go, oh, that's what he wants. He's paying the bills.
I was going to say, because when there were meetings with alternates going, here's,
yes,
and this is what you, which I look at my Cardinals jersey. Most of my Cardinals stuff in the closet. I've got the Cardinals. Well, now it's the old red one and the old black one, but the rest of my stuff is the classic stuff. It's the old, it's pre 2003 or no 2006 when they changed the uniforms, something like that. Was it 2000? I can't remember now when they changed the uniforms. It was right about the time. But anyway, I looked at that. I go, well, guess what? I just saved myself some money because I'm not buying new jerseys, and they didn't change the logo, so I don't have to worry about buying. Okay. So but going back to what I said, the NFL has got merchandising down. That, you just look at, you and I both watch old NFL films stuff in the 70s, and you compare it to now, just stuff in the fans want to identify with their team, and I think the XFL, they did themselves a disservice by not pushing the merchandise sooner rather than later, because that's what people want.
And speaking of Cardinals, rest in peace, Conrad Dobler.
Oh yeah, that's right. Wait a minute, when did he pass away? Now how long ago was that?
Recently?
No, but I know that. But how was it, about a month or two ago now? I've got a picture. I've got a picture of Conrad Dobler up here. I've got on the other, you can't see it, but on the flip side here, I've got a bulletin board, little cheap bulletin board I bought. And I had a bunch of my Cardinals stuff, like we're talking stuff from the 70s, like old cards, stickers, stuff that you would buy, you would find back in the day when your old man took you to the bar.
Yep.
That type of stuff. So I've got a whole thing up here, but I got a picture of him. I got a picture of Conrad Dobler smiling right back at me. And I got a picture of him right in the back here too, a signed photo. So
At the end of his career, he played the last couple of years in Buffalo. And my mom, I forgot where she was. I was only like 9 or 10 years old. She came home one day. She goes, "Hey, we met this football player from the Bills. He signed a book for me. So it's inscripted, a little note to me." And she goes, "It's Conrad Dobler." And I started laughing. She goes, "Who is he?" "Oh, he's an offense. He's a lineman for the Bills." She goes, "Well, why are you laughing?" I go, "He's like probably the dirtiest player in the history of football." And she just goes, "Really?" I go, "But thank you for the book."
Oh, yeah. My first football memory of watching a full game was Thanksgiving '77, Dolphins, Cardinals. Back then I was a huge Dolphins, Bob Greasy fan. So I'm 10 years old watching the Thanksgiving game. And Greasy obviously torched the Cardinals for 6 touchdowns. 210, passing yards like 210. So all these passes came from down like the 10-yard line. It's not like he lit it up. But Conrad Dobler, the most memorable part was when Conrad Dobler got ejected from the game and then chucked his helmet in the stand. So I've been hoping that somehow that game's going to show up on YouTube. Somebody's going to find that and upload that, because that'd be one to be like, I'm going to spend a quality, other, there's a lot of games I've gotten off of YouTube and everything. I sit there like old Monday Night Football games with Howard Cosell.
Yep.
But that's my great white whale when it comes to games that I've yet to see pop up on YouTube.
Yeah. And how many people our age were first introduced to him on those NFL films?
Yeah.
Talking about clubbing guys, leg whip as they went by, like just him talking about what he did to make sure no one got to the quarterback. Yeah. And then you look at Dan Dierdorf, who did Monday Night Football. He goes, he doesn't seem like Dan Dierdorf never gave that impression of the Conrad Dobler as a player, but they had some really unbelievable offensive lines back in the day at the Cardinals in the 70s.
Well, that was you think about those teams that the Cardinals had. You had Jim Hart. Yeah. You talk about a quarterback that was great. It was just a team that could just not. They were always the potential to be a great team, and it just didn't work out.
Yep,
didn't work out. So, well, listen, brother. Well, with all that said, let's sign off from here, and let's plan on doing a championship. We'll do a championship preview show next week, and maybe do a wrap up of the entire season. We'll see how it goes. So, hey, so for everybody who has been listening, I do know, I don't know, whoever's listening, and there's a lot of you apparently listening to the podcast, at least the last episode with Amazon Alexa. Thank you very much. And hey, if we get as many people tuning in for this podcast as we did last podcast, maybe that'll give us a reason to continue the show for next year. So with all that said, on behalf of Dave and myself, thanks for listening, and we will be talking to you again soon. Take care. Bye-bye.